This episode of Running Down the Clock is brought to us by Busy Bee Vegan Skincare. Busy Bee is an all-natural skincare line dedicated to healthy, vegan, plant-based skincare and overall wellness. They offer a selection of handcrafted body scrubs, butters, and washes that not only make your skin glow, but smell amazing. Their unique all-natural scents include gingerbread, ruby grapefruit, caramel cake, and morning latte. So why not treat your skin to something fresh and all natural? Head over to shopbusybeevegan.com today. And as a special bonus, Busy Bee is offering listeners of this podcast a 15% discount on your first order with the code Ordinary Podcasts. Welcome to Running Down the Clock, where we break down all of this week's big news, events, and controversies from the National Football League. Over the next 45 minutes, we will give you basic fan perspective and opinion on the most important stories and moments happening now. So, let's start the clock. Hello, listeners. Welcome back. I am here, as always, with Poya Reisi. We are talking AFC EAST today.
Yeah, we got the Pats, the Bills, the Dolphins, and the lowly Jets. One question for you. From this division, do you think the Bills are Super Bowl contenders?
Yeah, I think the Bills are the favorites in this division. I think that the Bills have to go into this season as with the thought process of Super Bowl or bust. They have the team together. They lost their offensive coordinator, which is going to be a little bit different for them. I believe Ken Dorsey is taking over, but Josh Allen now knows this system. They've got Stephon Diggs in there, who is a top 5 wide receiver probably in the league. And I think that if the running game comes along, I mean, Devin Singletary's not great. He had 870 yards last year and 7 touchdowns. That's not terrible, but I think they need more of a running game instead of having to rely on Josh Allen to run the whole time. But I think that this team is Super Bowl or bust. If they don't win the Super Bowl this year, I think it's a failed season.
I agree. I think forget the division. I think they're looking way past the division. I think they got to be among the top 3 favorite teams in the league. No, to be
absolutely
a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely, and they would have been. I think they lost in the AFC Championship or the AFC wildcard conference game. They lost last year in overtime to the Kansas City Chiefs, which then brought upon a new rule for overtime in the playoffs. Both teams will now get the chance to score touchdowns. Which last year, if you scored a touchdown, the game was over. And what happened was those guys were hot in the fourth quarter and everyone just kept scoring touchdowns. So it brought upon a huge new rule change that's going to affect all of the playoffs, not regular season, which I don't understand why that's the thing. But I also think that Josh Allen's got to be an MVP candidate this year, no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's been steadily progressing in an upwards trajectory. Like he's a game changer. He's a guy who can take over a game, right? I think there's 5, maybe 6 QBs in the league. Him, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Burrow, Brady. There's a few guys that can really take over games, and he's among them, right?
So if we're talking, we just talked Chiefs Bills a little bit, would you rather have Mahomes or Josh Allen right now?
I mean, I gotta take Mahomes just because my trend so far. I kind of have to go with history, but I think this year is going to be a little different. I think this is where you see Buffalo overtake the Chiefs, just because I don't want to get too much into the Chiefs, but what was one of the key things that Buffalo lost that playoff game, and that was one of the most exciting playoff games I've ever seen. It was one player who is now in this division that went down to Miami that made some crucial plays that Buffalo had to change their defense just to cover him, and he get them in field goal territory, and that's what sent the game into overtime. Buffalo had that game if it wasn't for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, and Tyreek Hill now has left the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't remember why or how, but I just know that he left, and it was kind of all of a sudden like an overnight type of thing. If you're on the West Coast, obviously you're still awake for it, but it was one of those things where it was like, wait, whoa, why did they just trade one of their best players away to the Miami Dolphins, which are in their conference? But It just makes the Dolphins better. And I think that if we're talking Buffalo Bills, you kind of have them on this pedestal above the other three teams in this division. Let's not even talk about the Jets right just yet, but the Dolphins and Patriots are also supposed to be pretty good this year. I mean, the the Dolphins have a new head coach who I like a lot. If you've ever seen Mike McDaniels talk in a press conference, he is smart, he is hilarious, and I think he's a player's coach, which is great. And they brought Tyreek Hill in to play with Jalen Waddle, who was their brand new flashy rookie last year, who had a great season. So they got two wide receivers that are going to be down there playing in the Dolphins. Now they brought in a backup quarterback, which is kind of huge because Tua had a great college career. He did get injured. He's a left-handed quarterback, which is problematic in this league. I know that it's weird to say that, and a lot of people will disagree with it, but every offense from high school up until the pros is always based mostly on a right-handed quarterback. You have your left tackles, they're your most important guy, and everyone's scheme and coaches' plans are based on right-handed quarterbacks. So for left-handed quarterbacks to get this high in the league and have those teams have to adjust to that, it's not great. It's not ideal, but Tua does have that arm. So bringing in Bridgewater brings in a little bit more of a steady backup quarterback, but this probably Tua's, we've talked about this before with other divisions. This could be make or break year for Tua, could it not?
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a lot of doubt for Tua. He hasn't silenced his critics yet.
No.
Now he's got some weapons. He also, one thing I like about what he's gone now, I like the running game a lot more. You know, one thing Buffalo, they're good defensively, they're good offensively, but like you mentioned, their running game lacks a little bit.
Yes, it does.
Where I like what they did here in Miami. I think Chase Edmonds is a good addition. Raheem Mostert, he's lightning quick. He's like Tyreek Hill speed, right?
Yep, he's good.
He's another fast guy out there, right? They got a track team playing.
They do. They have everybody on their offense is extremely fast. Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest guys in the league, if not the fastest. So that whole team can move. It's just if the argument with Tua is, can he throw the ball very far? Which in training camp, there's been video. The first video, it was a little bit of a lame duck throw to Tyreek Hill, but now that it's coming out, like he's throwing the ball deep, he's getting it out there. But this whole system is going to have to run around him. Having a better running back is going to help, and a new coach who is coming from San Francisco as their offensive coordinator, who is basically what made Deebo Samuel who he is today. He takes over this offense, and he is talking extremely highly of Tua Tagovailoa.
Well, now, what coach isn't? Come on, coach isn't.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's his guy. He's got to talk him up. I get that.
From what I understand, the coach, he's great with the run game. He's a run game coach. No,
well,
I don't know much about him.
He's got some gimmicky run games. It's new. It's kind of like he's found ways to utilize guys in different spaces with untraditional positions.
Now, how much faith do you have in Teddy Bridgewater? Because Teddy Bridgewater's not really been a game-changing quarterback anyway. I guess he's there for a little relief. Maybe if they hit a slump, he'll pick up some games.
I have more faith in him than other backup quarterbacks. Like I have more faith in him than people had in Ryan Fitzpatrick when he was around. I have more faith in Bridgewater than I do Cam Newton, Taylor Heineke. I have more faith in him than the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback now, who we'll talk about soon. I have more faith in him than a lot of backup quarterbacks. I think he's one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league. And I just kind of think that he was one of those guys who had a good spot in Minnesota and unfortunately got seriously injured and was never able to get a starting spot after that. Then he went to New Orleans, and I think he went 6-0 or something when Drew Brees went down. And then I forget his next stop after that was the Panthers. Didn't really pan out.
Carolina for a bit.
Yeah, didn't really pan out there. But I think as a backup quarterback, I think he's one of the better ones you could have.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I agree with you. He's there to kind of support the team, to kind of give them a little confidence in case the Tua thing doesn't work out. No, but
no, for sure.
Like you said, they're relying on Tua being a game changer, being the kind of player he was in college, And in
Yeah.
college, he had an arm, right? He was bottom down the
Oh,
field.
yeah.
And that's why I can see how this link up with Tyreek Hill can work out well.
Yeah.
Especially when defenses have to adjust for the speed, this speed fear factor that they have. You don't want to get burned downfield like that because, when Tyreek Hill burns a guy, he gets a lot of yards.
Yes, he does. That's how he gets most of the
yards.
yards.
It's not like the Michael Thomas slant we were talking about. You pick up a few yards, or the Brady thing where you pick up a few yards steadily. When he burns the guy, that's 30, 40, 50 yards plus.
He's a game-changing wide receiver. He's not one of those guys. He is probably a top 10 wide receiver when he was with Mahomes. So now it's also, I do like when wide receivers get traded because you can actually kind of solve that. Is it the wide receiver or the quarterback that is the better player on that team? And it's kind of like that with Mahomes. Did Mahomes make Tyreek Hill, or did Tyreek Hill kind of help Mahomes? Now it's Mahomes also has Travis Kelce there.
I think it's a lot of Jerry Rice made a lot of other wide receivers' careers because everyone was so busy picking up Jerry Rice, it just freed up the other guys to do great. They go to another team, they're nobodies again.
So who freed up who? If we're like, we'll talk about,
I'm just saying,
talk about Tyreek Hill. He's gonna free up Jalen Waddle. He's gonna free up some of the other guys on there. But if you talk about the Chiefs, did Travis Kelce free up Tyreek Hill, or did Tyreek Hill free up Travis Kelce?
I think they go both ways, right? Like people always for the past few years, they've always had so much firepower on that team. Do you remember that game against the Houston Texans? They were up 30 points or something in the playoff game.
Yeah,
and they came back, and Kansas City came back to win. Like, not a lot of teams can just put up points at will like they could.
Yeah,
because they had so much firepower, so many guys to look at downfield.
Yeah, and Tua has that now, does he not? He's got Jalen Waddle.
Yeah,
he's got a really good tight end, and he's got like Tyreek Hill. Just those two guys alone should help this offense. Like I don't know. Everything is there for Tua to have a great season. I think he will. I hate that people don't talk about Tua as much as they do, but it is part of the game. You have to live up to those expectations. You have to do it quickly, or else the NFL moves on very, very fast from you.
Oh yeah, I mean, they must have invested a lot of money into this team right now. They picked up a lot of guys. They made a lot of moves, right? Usually that's pretty costly.
Yeah.
And they're probably expecting some results, which
absolutely.
I think from what I understand about him, I don't know too much about him. I know you watch more at the college level than I do. It's his decision-making that they're questioning, is it not?
Not maybe before, maybe a couple years ago in the last 2 years, but now it's his arm strength. His accuracy is unbelievable. He is extremely accurate.
Okay.
But nobody knows if he can actually throw a good deep ball. And if you can't throw a deep ball, everyone kind of plays in on you. And then you have to throw a ball into tighter spaces.
You've eliminated the speed of your best guy right there, too.
Exactly, yeah. But Tyreek Hill's also really good at catching the ball, like just in short slants and then creating for himself.
Yep.
So it could work. Now, before we leave the Miami Dolphins, we do have to talk a little bit about this controversy because a couple of years ago, when the Dolphins were trying to mix everything up, they brought in Tom Brady. Well, they tried to bring in Tom. I guess they do. They did. They brought in Tom Brady and Sean Payton. They had a secret meeting with both of those guys on like a yacht. And now the owner, Stephen Ross, has been fined $1.5 million for tampering. They lost a first-round selection in 2023 and a third-round selection in 2024. And Ross can't show up at any games until October 17th. Now, as far as owners go, this is a nothing penalty, right? Like, this doesn't mean anything to him.
No, I mean, the fine is minimal. These are billionaires we're talking about, right?
Yeah, fine is nothing.
Fine is nothing. He can't go to the games. I'm sure that's a little bit of prestige loss, but at the end of the day, it's not a big deal.
Watch him on his yacht. He'll watch them on his yacht on probably a theater-sized television.
It's not like he's teams in the Super Bowl and he's banned from being in the owner's box.
Yeah, that would be a penalty that would suck. But this is nothing. And those are like a first-round pick means something, but not if you're a team that's trying to win now.
Well, what's the alternative? What do you think is a fair punishment? Do you think that's that bad of a punishment? Like, I mean, do you think he should be just punished much worse for what he did?
Well, I think like do something to prevent him from doing it again, because this doesn't prevent him. Have him lose 5 first-round picks or $15 million. Right now, you're not doing anything. You haven't done anything to the guy. He probably laughed at it when he got it. He's like, oh, okay, slap on the wrist. Oops, that hurt. Moving on. Like,
so what I'm asking is what he did in your books, not by the NFL's rules, in your books, is what he did terrible.
Well, yeah, he took players that were under contract, a player and a coach under contract, and tried to persuade them with lucrative offers to leave those teams.
I understand.
You can't do that.
You can't do it. I mean, it's like a speeding ticket. You get a speeding ticket, it's a fair fine. You get a $200 fine. It shouldn't be that much harsher unless, you're putting someone's life in danger. What I'm saying is what he did. I'm not saying it's legal. Is it that bad, though, that he should really be paying the price for it?
But it's not like he got a speeding ticket. It's like he pulled the guy over speeding and then said, you're paying me directly and not the city. Because he's just benefiting himself and he's the one also breaking the rules. There's rules in place because they want to have parity in the NFL. Once those go out the window, you're more like the NBA, where guys just hang out on porches and their yachts and their backyards and restaurants and try to convince each other to move to different teams, which is getting ridiculous in the NBA, but this is not an NBA show.
Yeah, the NBA tries to fight you too, but we digress. I think we both know that the fines in the NFL are very like what's the opposite of parity, right? Like they don't really flow evenly.
No, they don't.
One guy gets a season for betting $1,500 when he's injured. Another guy gets 6 games for 30 sexual allegation, like misconduct. It is kind of
all over the place.
It's all over the place. I mean,
but I think we can agree that it's not much of a penalty for an owner in the NFL.
It's not much of a penalty. No.
Okay. Okay, let's move on from that. We didn't want to talk about it too much because it is pretty boring stuff if you don't care about the Dolphins or penalties. But let's move on to the New England Patriots. Now, they had a great record last year. They've got a second-year quarterback in Mac Jones, who ended up being probably the best quarterback drafted and had a rookie year. I would like to get into the situation in New England. And I think that New England is going to be a garbage football team this year. And I hope that everybody who is a fan of New England just shuts up and listens for a second, because you have made a decision, not the fans, but Bill Belichick, big brain Belichick, who is, if anyone can shut down haters and people that go against him, it's this guy. But he has made a decision this year to put Matt Patricia as the offensive coordinator of his team and play caller. Now, let's talk about Matt Patricia, because he is a piece of shit. He took the Detroit Lions from a team that was in the playoffs 2 of the last 4 years with a playoff roster, and then went 6 wins, 6-10. In the first year he had them, he traded all their Pro Bowlers. He traded all the players that were there on those playoff teams to make it his own. And he said, just trust the process, trust us, we know what we're doing. They went 6-10. The year after that, when we're supposed to trust the process, he goes 3-12 as a head coach. He's a defensive coordinator. He goes 3-12 as a head coach. And then the next season, he goes 4-7 in 11 games. They fire him. Took way too long. He goes back. He crawls back to Mr. Bill Belichick. Oh, I need a job. Give me the defensive coordinator job. And he gets it. And then the next year, old Billy Bell goes, you know what? Because you came back and you had your little tail between your legs, you are now the offensive coordinator of our team. How is that going to make the New England Patriots better? How is Mac Jones, who is in a very pivotal second year of his NFL career, going to get better with Matt Patricia and his stupid fucking pencil in his ear? How is he going to get better next year? I don't see it. I don't know why this is happening. This is the biggest thing that's going on in New England right now. I don't know if anyone in the Patriots organization, I don't know if any of the Patriots fans, which are very loyal fans, I don't know how any of them can trust what's going on. And if I were them, I would be super angry right now. Matt Patricia is not the answer anywhere. He's a defensive coordinator, is not the answer. As a defensive coordinator, his team, when he took over the Lions, was one of the worst defensive teams of all time. And now they're going to make him the offensive coordinator. He's like, just because you fail at something, you're getting promoted upwards. He's getting promoted just to get out of the way.
I think, first off, you used your season's worth of timeouts in that one.
I hate him. I hate him. And I don't know,
I know,
why
you
he
know,
gets the
I've
offensive
told you many
coordinator job.
times. I was actually more optimistic when he joined Detroit. I thought it was going to be a better thing. And it, like you said, it was a train wreck.
A
Now,
train
I got
wreck.
one question for you. On New England, who's the biggest superstar they have? Who's the biggest household name?
Right now it's Mac Jones or
It's
it's Bill
Bill
Belichick.
Belichick.
It's Bill Belichick.
Bill
Yes.
Belichick. Your
Yes.
coach is your superstar. He's not a player, but that's the biggest name they have right now. And I mean, the Patriots have always been very good at understanding when a player is in his kind of upwards peak, utilizing to that, and then dumping him before they're garbage.
Yeah. Okay. What does that have to do with Matt Patricia? They took him when he was garbage. They took him back. He was a piece of shit. They took him back.
I'm just saying, I agree with you about the team. I don't see how they kind of improved from last year. Last year, they actually, I think they exceeded expectations.
Very much so.
In my books. I think they're only 2 wins behind, 1 win behind the Bills.
They had 11 wins last year, I believe. They were a very good team. They're very surprising. I did not think they were going to win that many games. I don't think a lot of people did because they had a rookie quarterback. They're kind of going through a rebuild.
So again, that comes down to is their superstar talent in Bill Belichick. Obviously, Bill Belichick is known to be cold and ruthless. He's cut a guy on Christmas Eve. He's cut a guy before the Super Bowl. You know, he does what is needed to win games. As much as Patricia coached for him before, I think he has a plan and he knows better. Whatever it is, I don't see that Patricia's going to be the downfall of this team just because I think Belichick's earned the credibility of making good football choices for the most part over the years.
I think that he might see something that this team might not do this well. Let's put this old fat bastard in position of offensive coordinator. And then when things do go south, we got a scapegoat. That's what I think, because there's no logical reason that Matt Patricia should be an offensive coordinator calling plays.
Sure. And so that's his smart move to cover his own ass, to keep him going, to do what he does best.
But why not bring in a guy that actually can do the offensive coordinator job? How is Matt Patricia qualified to be an offensive coordinator at all, at a high school level?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm surprised they took him back. I'm surprised they took him back.
He's got photos.
He's got photos. He's got photos. Photos were leaked a long time ago. Also, this team, like other than Mac Jones, and New England's also one of those teams where the wide receivers aren't flashy names, but they always tend to get it done. It is a system thing. But this is my problem: is that it is a system thing, and now you have lost.
Let's look at a couple of these wide receivers, though.
They took Devontae Parker from Miami.
Yeah, which again, Devontae Parker, he's never really had that breakout season.
No, he hasn't.
We've used a few guys.
He's always had the worst word in football in any sport. He's always had that potential, but he's never put it together. And so maybe he could, but he's going to an offensive coordinator that doesn't know how to be an offensive coordinator. So how is he going to help Devontae Parker be better?
He'll trade him.
What do you mean? They just traded for him.
So
then they got Nelson Aguilar. Yeah.
Again, I kind of put him on the guys he's not a bad player. He gets open. He gets a lot of attempts thrown at him. He's on the no hands team. Like he drops
a lot of balls, and he famously drops them. He famously drops them too.
Again, like I've told you before, nothing I hate more than a wide receiver who drops balls. I don't care if you can't get open, but if you do, don't drop the ball. Yeah. That's it.
I completely agree. And I don't mind Kendrick Bourne and I don't mind Jacoby Myers. I don't think that they're high-end talents, but I think those guys are better than Devontae Parker and Nelson Aguilar in terms of consistency. Yeah. So, but again, this is a system it works because it is a system. It is a process to this offense. But now you put a idiot in charge of it. So I don't know how this is ever going to work out. I don't mind their tight ends. I think Henry Hunter is very good. And I think Jonnu Smith is very good. So those two guys, I would say, are also huge in New England. They always have two really good blocking and catching tight ends. And I think they both.
Jonnu Smith, was he over in Tennessee for a while there?
Yeah, Jonnu Smith came from Tennessee and Hunter Henry came from
He's had quite a few injuries though, no? He's a little bit injury prone.
I don't know, actually. I mean, I'm not too sure. I know that he also is kind of one of those guys that like Devontae Parker, where his talent level has not caught up with the potential that is around him. But I don't mind him. I mean, when he was in Tennessee, it wasn't too bad. People loved him in fantasy, but might have frustrated him. But Hunter Henry, I think, is a really good tight end who was frustrating for some people in fantasy, but I think that he's a great tight end. The thing with the Patriots as well is that their defense is always really, really good. There's always something
That is
wrong
the
with their
staple
defense.
of the Bill Belichick team for sure.
Bill Belichick knows how to run that defense. He knows how to scheme for people. They have like Devin McCourty's great. And they got Matthew Judon from Baltimore.
Well, you just got your answer. You got your answer on the whole Patricia thing. He's not going to let Patricia touch his precious defense because that's going to bail him out of every
just kick him out. Just kick him off the team. You can't just put him into offense. You can't just put him to offense. It doesn't. It doesn't make sense. It's like when Elaine promoted that guy up to the next floor. It's like, I just got rid of him. He's upstairs. He got a promotion. Yeah, out of my way. I don't see how this team runs with Matt Patricia leading it forward.
No, yeah, I agree. I think this is the Dolphins' year to take over and put the
Dolphins. I'd take over the Patriots in terms of, but it won't be Bills, right? It'll be Bills at the top, like by far, probably by like 3 or 4 wins, and then you have I think the Dolphins also get a little bit above the Patriots there.
Do you put the Dolphins making the playoffs, taking a wild card spot?
Off the top of my head, yeah, I do. Yeah, I could say they make the playoffs this year. That head coach is, I think he's going to be really good.
I agree with you. I think if Tua has not even an average, decently, slightly above average season.
Yeah.
I think, if he's, top 15 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I agree. Go. I think it takes the spot in the playoffs that the Patriots had last year. If Tua can put it together, that team sails. They sail to the playoffs. I completely agree. It'll also be like, I don't know. I think Mac Jones takes a big step back because of the Matt Patricia thing. I can't say enough bad things about Matt Patricia.
No, you know what? I don't blame you. He was an absolute train wreck for that. I can't think of a positive thing to say about his time in Detroit.
No. And I hated when he got hired. I hated it. Bill Belichick disciples do not do well in the NFL.
Do you think that's because of,
because
I think competitive guy in his own way?
I think it's because
all his own secrets.
I think it comes down to respect and the way you talk to people now. It's like now the players are younger. They want more of a head coach that is a player's coach. But the thing with Bill Belichick is he has so much respect and so much trust and loyalty around the league that he can be the way that he is. But the guys that are under him always just watch him and go, I'm just going to do it. This is how Bill runs it. This is how Bill runs it. And then they go to these teams and the players go, you are a nobody. You are a defensive coordinator that's getting his first head coaching job. You cannot act like an 8-time Super Bowl winner. So I think that's what happens when these guys leave the Patriots.
I mean, it's shocking how long Bill Belichick has been in the league for, and he never played either.
No, he'll be around for a long time too. I think he loves the game so much.
He's 45 years, something around there. He's been in the NFL. Something ridiculous.
Yeah. And his son is running the defense now too. So the Belichicks will be around for a while.
Yeah.
Around for a while. Now there's one last team that we have to kind of talk about. The New York Jets. Now the Jets aren't great. The Jets are young. That's the best thing you can say about the Jets. They've improved their offensive line, which is huge because they have a second-year quarterback in Zach Wilson, who I believe is coming out of BYU or Utah, one of those schools. And Breece Hall, who they just drafted, Michael Carter. These are both running backs. Those guys will be fighting for the number 1 running back spot. Both very good. Breece Hall is supposed to be amazing, but he's a rookie, so Michael Carter might get in there because he knows more of the blocking schemes. They just drafted Garrett Wilson as a wide receiver this year. And also last year, they had Elijah Moore. And they also took Corey Davis over from Tennessee, who has not had a bad career over there. I think he was on the team last year as well. And so like they're young and they have potential. They could be there, but is this the year they put it together?
I mean, I don't think so. Just this.
And neither do I.
They got a tough.
What
tough
makes you like?
division.
What makes you think they'd put it together? So also the big thing
I
that's
think they're
happening.
probably trending in the right direction.
I agree, but things like they always have minor setbacks. So Zach Wilson just got hurt in the preseason game, so he'll be out 2 to 4 weeks. Now that should technically get him back for week 1, but at the same time, he's now missing all that valuable time that he's going to need to work with these wide receivers, to work with these offensive linemen that just came in this year and get timing down, get routes down, work with the running backs and audibles and all this stuff and what he sees at the line of scrimmage. He's losing all that valuable time as a second-year quarterback. That this could very well be a setback for the Jets and just another one for them, and then just a series of bad things that happen to the Jets all the time.
Well, what were some of those things? I mean, like they had that Adam Gase guy who was kind of
a nightmare.
He was a little bit of a lunatic, no?
He was a huge lunatic, yeah. And I think he was also a Bill Belichick guy. Actually, I don't know if he was. I think he came from Nick Saban. He went back to Alabama, I think, after that. Don't quote me on either of those. But yeah, they just kind of seemed to not get the right hire, the right personnel, and now it seems like they could put it together. But Zach Wilson has to be a guy. He has to be the quarterback of the future. He was drafted in the same year as Trevor Lawrence, I believe. So it's his second year this year. It's Mac Jones was also drafted in this year. I think that these guys had like those two guys put it together. So Zach Wilson has to have it together this year, right? Or else they start doing that whole trend again where this is not the guy. We got to go back to the drawing board. Because you kind of only get 2 years, maybe 3 years if you're on the right team with the right patient. That's the key here is the patient fan base. New York Jets do not have a patient fan base. So the pressure is going to be on Zach Wilson. He might have bought a little bit of time with that summer kind of news scandal, TMZ stuff that he had to get a little bit of that fan base on his side. Got a lot of the players on his side. If you don't know what we're talking about, you can just look up Zach Wilson and wide receivers going crazy around the league on Twitter. It'll be pretty amusing, but like it's tough in New York.
That's one game. He blows one game. Any credibility that from the summer of Zach that he got there, it's all gone, right? Nobody's going to care after you blow a game. Right?
You're probably right. He probably gets one blown game and that's gone out the window. All the memes will turn against him completely 180, and then they'll be calling for Joe Flacco in no time. And all the news now is about how Joe Flacco looks good. The coach keeps saying Joe Flacco looks like he could start in this league. Joe Flacco this, Joe Flacco that. Joe Flacco's 37 years old. Joe Flacco wasn't the best quarterback when he won a Super Bowl. Is Joe Flacco actually somebody that could play in the NFL right now?
I haven't seen it. Where has he been for the past few years, right? He's been.
Well, he was in Philly. I think he was a backup I think he might have been a third stringer in Philly. And then I think he had a year off or so. And then he was also the backup to the guy in Baltimore. So I don't know.
Off the top of your head, how old's Matt Ryan?
38.
38. So Matt Ryan's going for the last little hurrah.
MVP.
Again.
Former MVP Matt Ryan.
Joey Flacco's got a Super Bowl. What would you rather, Super Bowl or an MVP?
Rather have a talented quarterback.
Anyway, this could be Joey Flacco's last attempt. He might just be emptying the tank on this season.
Well, he has to. This is his last shot.
Well, exactly. But that's also going to put the pressure on Zach Jones to either play well or step aside. Because if, from what we've seen, Joe Flacco is putting the heat on him that, my 15 years in the league, this is how it's done.
Do you think that maybe that the coach and people around the Jets are saying Joe Flacco is so good that they could use him as trade bait if somebody else gets hurt?
Why not? Why? I don't imagine why a team would ever say one of their players is bad or underperforming.
Yeah, no,
publicly.
Yeah, well, you can say it about
unless it's visually obvious. After a game when it's kind of everyone saw you drop a few balls, fumble a few balls. Like you just had a terrible game. It's a little bit hard to hide it.
Yeah,
but before that, why would you ever say some of your players are doing terribly? You cut them, and then people can figure it out that no, they didn't make the team. But
yeah, some guys react though to like being called out in public, and they go, I got to step it up. Coach doesn't think I'm doing too well. I got to step it up. Some guys do react to that, and also you could like be playing mind games with teams, and Bill Belichick does that all the time, where it's like this guy's not hurt, or this guy is hurt, or this guy's not playing too well. He might not start. Guys kind of do it all the time just to mess with other teams' schemes and coming up for the next week.
That was a classic Jim Brown. Jim Brown got up slow after every tackle, whether he was hurt or he wasn't hurt, just so the other guys didn't know. Is he hurt or not?
That's the opposite of Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice said that every time he ran down the field, he jogged back, he ran back to the huddles because he didn't want anyone to know if he was hurt or tired. So I'm jogging back, so the DB is going to have to jog back to his huddle as well. So guys do it on the field, so why don't coaches do it at the same time? Yeah. Now, I don't know if there's anything else to say about these Jets, except that what team would you rather have right now? The Jaguars or the Jets? Which team would you rather be a fan of?
Jaguars.
I think so too. I think the Jaguars are a better team than the Jets. And they're kind of both at the bottom of the cellar last year. Well, not kind of. They both were. I think they're the first and second worst teams. So I would also take the Jaguars, and I don't even think it'd be close.
They're both bottom barrel teams, yet both of them had some wins over top of the barrel teams, no?
Well, I don't know.
Not the NFL that way. There's always some teams upset, like Miami and New England. There was always these, Miami would run the train against them all season. Then for a couple seasons, then randomly, once in a while, Miami would just know how to get the best of them.
Who did the Jets beat last year? The Bills?
They beat the Bills? I think it was the Bills.
It was either the Jets beat the Bills or the Jaguars beat the Bills. But the Jaguars beat the Colts to have them miss the playoffs, but the
Colts crushed the Bills too. That was one of those. That was the Jonathan Taylor 5-touchdown game.
Yeah, but the Colts were a good team. They are a good team. They're supposed to be that.
Yet
but
they can lose to the Jaguars.
And that's the thing about this league is that you can do that stuff. But it was. I'm looking it up right now to see who the Jets. It took me to the Winnipeg Jets. This what it's like being in Canada. New York Jets. I think it was the Bills. Now let's see. Okay, they beat the Jaguars, lost the Eagles, lost the Dolphins. They beat the Texans. They lost to the Saints. They lost to the Dolphins.
Only had 2 wins.
They didn't beat the Bills. No, I don't know who you're referencing saying that they win. Oh, they beat the Titans.
Okay.
The Jets beat the Titans. So the Titans were a playoff team last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'd be the game you're talking about in overtime too. I got smoked by the Patriots. They beat the Bengals too. The Jets beat the Bengals last year.
There you go. This is one of the best teams.
Well, yeah, won the Super Bowl. So what? Are you changing your mind now? You're saying that?
Oh no, Jaguars. I'm just saying that these bottom of the barrel teams. I think I mentioned in one of the other podcasts before. Sometimes all you have to play for is to play against the top of the league team.
Yeah,
it's like you're going nowhere, so you just put it all on the line just to put a blemish on a top of the table team.
Yeah,
and it seems to happen frequently.
I agree. Now, there are some rumors going around in this division, and those rumors are being spread by Von Miller on the Bills defense. That Bills defense is very good, just as good as their offensive side of the ball is. Now,
top of the league last year, no? Best in the league, weren't they?
Oh, yeah. And so Von Miller is now trying to get OBJ to go to the Bills. Is that a good fit?
I think it's a good fit.
Would you take OBJ, knowing that what comes?
What are you giving up? Who's
he's a free agent.
No, but I'm saying like who's roster spot? Who you're dropping here?
Well, I mean that's the thing is
whose reps has he taken here? Because they don't really have any standout receivers other than
they got Stephon Diggs.
Stephon Diggs.
Gabe Davis is not too bad. Isaiah McKenzie apparently is having a great offseason.
Jamison Crowder.
OBJ is better than anybody they have on the roster now. It's just that he probably isn't going to play for about 7 or 8 games.
I think after seeing how much of an impact he had in LA, he was great in New York. It didn't work out in Cleveland, and a lot of things didn't work out in Cleveland.
A lot of things never work out in Cleveland. And
then you saw his resurgence in LA. Even he scored. He was having a good Super Bowl. He scored a touchdown.
He was going to be the MVP of the Super Bowl.
He was having a great Super Bowl. He hurt his knee, and you saw the play. Just an awkward freak accident. And So yeah, I think you take him. I think the talent's still there. He's still
that would put the
still a
Bills
top
over the top, right? Like that would make them instant favorites. There'd be no debate about it.
No,
they could beat the Rams, even though the Rams got better. We'll talk about them in a couple of weeks, but like I would take the Bills. If Bills get OBJ, I think they're the best team in the league, even with OBJ only coming in like week 8 or 9, or even if he comes in like week 12.
Yeah. The thing is, I've heard so many rumors about where OBJ could go.
Yeah, this is a good fit though, isn't it? Doesn't it just feel like it would be a good fit?
It does. It does. I mean,
like you just take the second receiver spot.
How did Terrell Owens do when he went to Buffalo? It wasn't.
He wasn't too bad.
No, but it wasn't. That wasn't.
But I think OBJ is a better receiver than Terrell Owens. I think his career is shorter because of injuries and some stuff. But I mean, Terrell Owens also kind of had off-field issues, but I think he was better at getting a prolonged career even with them. But I don't know. Maybe I'm.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, if they have the opportunity to sign him.
Yeah. I guess I just didn't really like Terrell Owens that much. He was really good though. I don't know if he's probably had a better career than OBJ for sure. For sure. But I don't know. I think OBJ's got a lot left in the tank, and I think that a perfect fit would be with the Buffalo Bills.
Well, here's the thing. If OBJ's career kind of ends relatively soon, does he make the Hall of Fame?
No.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, Terrell Owens didn't go to the Hall of Fame. He's in it, but he didn't go to get enshrined or anything like that. But that's just TO being TO. Okay, well, you got anything left to say about this division at all? Because we're running out of time here, and I think we've gone through every team. I think we both agree Buffalo is the top of this, and then we also kind of have.
But I think we both also agree Buffalo games are exciting to watch. They've been exciting to watch for the past few seasons. Yes. I love the quarterback.
They also play in the snow a lot, which it does make a difference playing in the snow. Like it's also fun to watch games in the snow, and both the Patriots and the Bills have outdoor stadiums, and they probably play in the snow more than other teams. Like the Packers also play in the snow, Bears also play in the snow, but
remember the Lions against the Eagles in the snow?
Yeah, you can watch it on TV.
That was the worst game I've ever seen. Nobody scored until nobody.
It's fun to watch the boys slide around in the snow.
They couldn't do anything until halftime when it kind of cleared up a little bit.
Well, even you could go back to last year where the Patriots and Bills played in Buffalo, and the Patriots threw the ball 3 times, and I think Bill Belichick was pissed that Mac Jones threw those balls. He wanted to run the ball every single time. It's kind of a boring game, but I don't know. I like it. I'm a big fan of defense as well. But
Patricia will be mad this year that he threw it.
Yeah, Patricia will throw the ball. It'll be a blizzard. He'll throw the ball 57 times.
But what I was going to say is Buffalo's exciting to watch. I think Miami is going to be exciting to watch one way or another. I think they might be a high-risk, high-reward team. Like Tua might be top of the interceptions, but he also might just be winning games.
Yeah, I think that you have something there, but I don't think that interceptions will be that high because he is so accurate.
But if he doesn't have the arm strength,
then he's throwing lame ducks and they're not getting down to Tyreek Hill. Then Tyreek Hill's going to be starting getting pissed too.
Yeah, but they're also getting picked off if they're not making the distance.
That's what I mean. They will get picked off if they don't make the distance, but then Tyreek Hill's going to lose his mind and he's going to be mad at Tua. And then that whole thing could blow up very easily as it could succeed.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're only going to find out. I like that Dolphins team. I like Tua. I think that they finish above the Patriots this year. I hope they do, because I do not want anyone to write in and say, I guess you're wrong about Patricia. He led that team into the playoffs. I would not be able to handle that. I cannot see Matt Patricia succeed as an offensive coordinator. I won't have it. I won't stand for it. And I believe we're going to end this week's podcast on that note so that everybody leaves knowing how much Matt Patricia stinks.
Wow, that's one more thing to watch out for this season.
Yeah. Come at us if you disagree, but I won't be wrong. I guarantee it. And I hope everybody enjoyed this week's episode, and we look forward to you guys tuning in next week. Thank you very much for listening. Poya, anything to say?
No, thank you. Have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone. Running Down the Clock is brought to you by the Ordinary Podcast Network and is every Thursday running until the week after the Super Bowl. We hope you enjoyed enough to subscribe and tune in again next week.